Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Pixelated Sausage Show. Hi. How's everyone doing? Hopefully well. I am, of course, your host, Marcus Nez, doing another late night recording like I do so late in the day, or technically early in the morning. It is 1:32 a.m. Central Time. On Friday, March 9th, 2025. Yeah. Not too much news that has occurred since last episode. I think the week must have said, hey, last week, kind of a shit show, kind of just a mess with the layoffs at numerous game studios, the basic complete destruction of Polygon as we know it, the seemingly destruction of Giant Bomb as we know it, Xbox raising their prices across the board for almost everything, but most substantially all the hardware. I was like, what word am I looking for? But most substantially the hardware itself, specifically consoles, that is. Hardware is also controllers and all that, but specifically the consoles themselves. And that's pretty much led to this week being quite uneventful. I'm probably missing something big, but I guess we did get the new Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer. I don't think that happened last episode. That's fine. Looks very, very pretty. Supposedly all captured on a PS5, a base PS5. But it was all in-game cutscene type things and not actual gameplay. So doesn't mean the game doesn't run at 20 frames per second on a base PS5 in quality mode. Who's to say what it actually looks like, and in terms of what it actually looks like in-game as opposed to using in-game assets in cutscenes also is going to differ. So we still don't really know what it looks like to be behind the gamepad, behind the controls, playing the game as it is. So I thought it was a fine trailer. It gave us an idea of the characters, but I thought it was a little poorly edited, and I can't say that it got me excited for the game. I'm already incredibly excited as a huge Grand Theft Auto fan. Outside of 5, I thought 5 was a misstep in terms of the single player. But I adore 3 through 4, and I have a lot of fondness as well for the originals. 1, London 1969, and 2 especially. And then I'm a big fan of Chinatown Wars, something I wish we would get in a simple port. We don't need a remake or a remaster or anything along those lines. Just port it to consoles, and I and many will be happy. I feel like that would sell more than enough to justify whatever it takes to make it happen. And I don't remember it being super touchscreen heavy. Oh, it can't be super touchscreen heavy because, well, I guess was it on the Vita or the PSP? Ooh, it was a DS game. So I think it was on one of the PlayStation handhelds. Maybe I'm misremembering it, but it did eventually get ported to iOS, and that is a touchscreen. So whatever, put it on regular consoles already. It'll make its money back for sure. But I think a bit of the continuation of last week's whole price changes, woes, concerns continued into this week with EA saying they're not planning any price raises in the immediate future, and 2K gave us a new trailer for Mafia: The Old Country, and with that, they gave us a price tag of $50, which is probably surprising to many, including myself. But then there was also a report I saw of, with the current tariff plans as Trump has them, if they do go into effect, console prices could go as high as like 63% higher, which that may be part of why Microsoft got ahead of the game with their prices, the price raising. Because I'm assuming, I mean, Sony did outside of the US, but I'm under the assumption that it is only a matter of days until Sony finally says, hey, PS5 prices, they're going up. And I would assume they would want to do it sometime between now and Summer Game Fest. They wouldn't want it to be one of the news stories to come out during a time where everyone's eyes are on the industry and looking for announcements and all that jazz. But going back to Mafia at 50, the new trailer to me looked bad. I know they're all about how this is a much smaller game in scope. It's linear, not open world, not trying to chase the GTA clone space or anything like that. And I get that. In that sense, I'm excited about it. I really like the original Mafia game. I like this series. But I do think, especially the first game, they're just open world games for the sake of being open world games. To be able to say, hey, we're a GTA like, it's open world and blah, 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 blah. Is there anything interesting to do here? No. Does it really play a factor in any of the mission design? No. You're really just driving from mission to mission, and what the open world amounts to is tedium inducing whatever between missions. You're just wasting time. Outside of in the first game, you have that really poorly implemented car stealth mission where you have to sneak out of the town at night, and there are all these cars on patrol and various roadblocks, and you treat it like a stealth game. You're like, oh, I want to stop here. All right, wait for the patrol to pass, and I'm going to go here down this one block, and I'm going to wait again, and it's fucking awful. But to the point of the game made 50, and yeah, it looks like crap. The game, what they showed, if it's indicative of what the game feels like in terms of how it plays and all that, it does not look like it's going to play particularly well, and I'm feeling slightly more confident in my picking of it as my counter pick in my fantasy critic league. That doesn't matter. But one of the things I was thinking about with it getting the $50 price tag is that as the industry is changing and prices are increasing and all of this shit, what would be nice with prices going up for your premium AAA, your super big titles that people know, publishers know, players are going to want, and they will purchase at those higher prices. Because we all know, say all you want about Mario Kart World at $80, you can huff and haw all the day long. You're going to pay for it. Whether it be through the bundle right now or when the bundle no longer is there, you're going to buy it because it's Mario Kart. And if you have a Nintendo console, if you're a Nintendo person, you're going to have Mario Kart. It is the game to have. Because it's the kind of game that if you're going to bring the console over to play with family, whatever, it's one of the easiest, if not, it's probably the easiest to get a group of people to play and enjoy together. Because you could throw in Super Mario Party, or just, I guess, Mario Party as an option. But some of the mini games can be a little confusing. And not everyone wants to do a mini game where they have to mash a button as hard as possible. So if you're just driving around and throwing shit at each other, nice and simple. Even Super Smash Brothers, yeah, you're just fighting each other, you're punching each other, but there is the whole way that works of breaking someone down so so that they get weaker and weaker, and you're able to knock them off the platform. Also, it's not that fun. Not everyone wants to beat each other. Out of context. But driving around throwing shit, everyone can get that. But what I would like to see as we get to $80 video games is a situation where your big games like your Grand Theft Autos, your Call of Duties, your Maddens, your Mario Karts, your whatevers, if the success of those, the income of those, if that can allow a return to the exploration of the price range so that we can see more games that are 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, etc. So that we can just see games coming in at all price ranges that are more indicative, that feel more in line with what people would think they're worth. I am still someone who thinks if you're able to get 6 very good quality enjoyable hours out of a game, it's worth $60. I'm of the mindset that if we want to equate a value to time with a game in terms of how much is each minute worth, each hour, so on, that $10 an hour, if it's good, great, quality time, that's fine with me. I don't think that it should be you're paying $1 an hour. You look at a game like an Elden Ring or so on, and maybe you play that for 120 hours. You're like, that's real value. Or you played it for 140 hours because that's a 70. That's real value. I got 2 hours for every dollar I spent. That's just unbelievably unrealistic. And I would say you got a fucking steal with that. That you should have paid them more for how much you got out. If anything, I would be of the mindset that a game like Elden Ring should cost more than a game like Kenna Bridge of Spirits. I don't know, just personal opinion. But I know I'm in the minority there. And I understand that for consumers, myself included, of course, would you rather pay less or more? I'd rather pay less. That's why I primarily wait for sales to pick up games. But in terms of how much I think a game is actually worth, I think they're worth a lot more than they often charge. But of course, we can't afford to just buy everything. I think that's the issue that a lot of us and the industry itself falls on, in that we shouldn't. I know most people can't afford to just play every new hot game whenever they come out. It's not a viable thing, and this is just a hobby. This is a recreational activity, something that brings us enjoyment, but in no way is it essential to life. It isn't. So the industry, developers, publishers, they don't owe you anything. They don't owe you cheaper games or whatever. They need to do whatever they need to do in order to survive, in order to thrive. It is what it is. I say this from a place of great privilege, and then I get a lot of codes for games, but I don't get codes for the games the majority of people would actually want to play. I'd say, not to say anything about a lot of the games I do get codes for, but I'm not getting a code for Oblivion Remastered as an example. I'm not going to get a code for Ghost of Yotei. I'm not going to get a code for Grand Theft Auto 6. I don't get a code for any Nintendo games. So I'm buying my Switch 2. I'm buying Mario Kart. Well, it comes with it because I got the bundle version. When I get Donkey Kong Bonanza, I'm going to pay for that myself. I ordered some gift cards so that I can get a couple of vouchers so that I can get some Pokemon games. Those are the games people care about. Well, maybe not. People still care about Pokemon, but in terms of the way they've handled it the last couple iterations, been rough. But yeah, I would love to see a return to the exploration of pricing for games. And I know that with Microsoft saying they'll be charging $8 for some games this fall, I think. People are like, oh, every game is going to be $80 now. No, that's not going to happen. They've already shown that they're willing to explore the price range with most recently something like South of Midnight, which is a $40 game. Oblivion Remastered, $50. Hi-Fi Rush was $30. Of course, yeah, we can all say Hi-Fi Rush, well, that's a failure. Studio was sold off and so on. But they have shown a willingness to explore the price range. And I guess Sony has to a more minor extent. Astrobot was $60, yeah. Then all their games are the usual 70 stands, your multiplayer leaning things where they're like, hey, we want to find it on it. We don't want to make a free-to-play thing, but we don't want to charge them full price, so we'll do the $40 thing. That seems like what they want to do. Yeah, that's pretty much it, news-wise and all that jazz. In terms of what I've been playing and all that, there's quite a bit to talk about for me. Starting with EcoGnomix. This is a roguelite tactics city builder game that is really interesting. I've only dabbled with it, so I can't speak to it into complexity, but this is a game where you play as gnomes, and it's kind of a cute little aesthetic, but it's grid based, and you are slowly making your way further and further down this mine, I guess you would call it. You're going deeper and deeper into the earth, and with each area, you are mining for resources through gathering wood, gathering food through hunting, also attacking enemies if they show up, and eventually get into a type of boss thing. And it follows the same structure of you start at your initial path, and then eventually there'll be branching areas, and you'll see if this thing, the one area will have more food, or it'll be more wood, or more whatever. And it works off a turn-based system of you place all of your gnomes and then end your turn, and then they'll have 7 actions each turn. So they'll do their hunting, attack enemies if they're in the vicinity, or do whatever they're doing. It is deceptively seemingly easy because of its cute aesthetic and its general more family-friendly vibe, but it is easy to get caught up in all of that and do stupid things where you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to put my one wood chopping gnome here, and he's going to go after this special enemy who will drop some gold along with wood when I kill him, but they can attack me too. And I put him here, and there were 2 of them there. I didn't think, oh, they're both going to attack me, because that's just how they're going to go. And I died in the second area. So I was going into the earth, finished the first area, no problem. And then I got to the second one. I was like, okay, look at all this goodie I can get. I can get so much gold here. And then I died. I was like, fuck, this run's already shot. I just screwed myself over because I'm an idiot who wasn't thinking anything, because I'm just like, this is so easy and simple with the city building and all that. And the city building comes into play where it's all very light, very much so light, in that when you complete a run or you die and you have to, your run ends, however it does, you get back up to the city, and then you can use some of the resources you've obtained to build things out, unlock new troop types, new gnome types, and so on. And I dig it. I like it. There's also the bat factor of going deeper and deeper into the earth that is inhabited by bats. You have to, the reason why you're gaining food, there are multiple purposes, but one of the main reasons, probably the main reason, I guess, why you are gathering food specifically is to feed bats between, is it every turn that they're eating food? And the deeper and deeper you go, the more food you have to allot for feeding the bats. So you're gonna have to balance your team that way and whatnot. And there'll be between areas the ability to upgrade gnomes so that they can gather food while flying, because there's also platforms that will have structural issues, and after one turn they'll fall apart and whatever's on it will crumble, whether that's you or a resource. But if you have this perk to your character where they can still collect resources and also they won't die through a platform falling apart because they can fly, that can become advantageous. It allows you to play with strategy. There's also strategy with enemies and other types of moving resources that you can box them in. You can place multiple gnomes in a space so that they can't get out of the way. But you also, again, have to worry about your health and all that. But in my little time with it, I'm very intrigued by it. I think it has a very pleasant gameplay loop. The city building stuff, while light and simple, is nice. And the actual act of going deeper and deeper into the earth, it's satisfying, and it's very quick. These runs will go quickly, so it's a really good pick up and play game. My only real issue is that it's a little finicky feeling in terms of using the game with a gamepad, just in the sense that you'll have to get accustomed and learn exactly how everything looks, because you have this cursor that when you are highlighting a character, you're not putting the cursor on top of them. You're highlighting a character or a space when the little diamond cursor thing is above their head, kind of like a sim. So that is when that is above a character's head in that sim-like fashion, that is when you have selected them. And that takes a little just getting used to, because usually I attribute on-screen cursors with if it's directly on a character or a space or whatever, that is what I'm selecting, but it's not how it works here. But yeah, I played a little bit of it, and I am excited, interested in playing more of it, especially since it is such a bite-sized pick-up and play thing. It's something I can play in between this and that. Perfect type of game for Switch or Steam Deck, for sure. That is, again, EcoGnomix. So think of it as economics, but EcoGnomix. Then we have SubwaySim 2, which is a train simulator game where you are driving a subway train. And I played it for about an hour, and it's okay. Light performance issues here and there, some occasional stutters playing on Xbox, even in performance mode. It doesn't look that great, which is maybe its biggest problem for me, because it is a very simple and streamlined simulator. Feels very casual friendly. I'm not sure if later down the line in the career mode, it starts getting more complicated with what you can do and what you need to do. But really, all it was asking of me in that first hour was to go from stop to stop to stop and open the doors, close them, and continue going. And that was it. And it became very monotonous very quickly in a somewhat pleasant way. But since the game doesn't look that great, when it rained, it looked especially just ugly. When I was looking at the more foresty areas, because I got into cities at times, but I was also in the countryside, because this takes place in Europe somewhere. I don't remember exactly where. But when you're in the countryside, trees will pop in, textures will pop in, and it's not a great looking game. But it is, in terms of these games that I played, maybe the most simplified with its controls being very streamlined. You can look around the dashboard and all of that to activate everything, so you can grab the throttle and pull it back or forward to initiate it, to engage it, or hit the brakes. There's an emergency brake button. so many buttons and whatnot, open the doors and all that, but you can also just do them through quick actions on the gamepad. So the right bumper and right trigger will activate the throttle. The left and right buttons on the D-pad will open the side doors. And then the B button will close the doors, whatever side they're on, when it's time to do it. And you just get into this loop of pulling into a stop, hopefully stopping at the right point. They give you that little point. And opening the doors, waiting for people to get out, waiting until it tells you to close the doors, closing them, and then making your way to the next station. And while you're doing that, there will be various changes in the speed limit, and you want to stay under that range, right around that range to gain XP. And you're gaining XP whenever you're doing something right, and if you do something wrong, if you overshoot a stop, if you go over the speed limit, if you do something wrong, you will lose XP. You don't just not gain XP, you lose XP. So you can have 400 XP and then do a lot of poor stops and get all the way back down to 0 XP, depending on how poorly you're doing and how consistently you're doing it. But in the time I put into it, I had an all right time. It just got to a point where I was wondering when the hell my shift was going to end. And because the game doesn't look that great, it doesn't. I'm not the biggest simulator person, just because in that I don't have that much experience with them, and the ones that are really sim heavy, I have never gotten into. But for me, I look at these games, and part of the appeal would be having really nice visuals, so that while I'm doing this relatively monotonous action, I'm getting something out of it other than just pushing buttons every now and again. The thing I enjoyed most, and the thing that kept me going from stop to stop to stop, was trying to do the best I could each time at braking at the perfect moment, so that when you're hitting the target, you see the meters going down and you want to get within it. And I think the best I ever did was maybe 2.4 meters to the actual stopping point. And I did that multiple times, like, oh, why can't I get closer? So that was the fun I found in the game, was trying to get it so that one time I could hit it perfectly, but that never happened, sadly. But it's all right again. Some performance issues playing on Xbox, but not too bad. Very light performance issues here and there, where it didn't even seem like there was a specific cause. It wasn't like I got to the city and all the geometry, all the buildings caused it to slow down. It just seemed like every now and again it would be like, actually, can I catch a break? Can I catch my breath? Yeah, that is SubwaySim 2. Hegzis is this hexagonal-based puzzle game where you are placing various shaped things, kind of like a Tetris-like, where you're just plopping them in this hexagonal game board, and you want to create complete strings, complete rows, any which way, no diagonal, it doesn't matter, at the bottom, at the top, and corners. As long as you hit one corner to another, that counts as points gained. And the way you beat levels is through either clearing a certain number of lines, scoring a certain number of points, and so on. And with each level beaten, you'll gain some extra perks and bonuses, power-ups that you can use that can destroy an object, that can destroy a certain part of the board, clear up space, and so on. It's really simple. It would be nice if it asked you, do you want to play the tutorial right off the bat? But you have to play that yourself to figure out exactly how the game works. It was fine. It didn't, I don't know, maybe the music wasn't super great, but I played 7 levels or something, somewhere in that range. I thought, okay, I get it. This is fine. But I think I've had my fill already. You don't get anything special for completing a level. No pretty, like, it was fine. It was fine. That is Hegzis. Blazing Trail is a game I was very excited about because it gives off that classic 16-bit action vibe of something like Desert Storm, one of the Storm games, Desert Storm, Jungle Storm, so on, but you're in an ATV type vehicle. So it feels like the more modern versions of these, which would be Assault Heroes and Renegade Ops on Xbox Live Arcade, if anyone remembers those. But in that 16-bit aesthetic. However, it just plays like shit. Your vehicle controls poorly, and then your actual weapons, you have a laser, missiles, and a machine gun. The machine gun, while it's situated as a turret on top of your vehicle, it just always shoots up. It only shoots up. So if you're moving left or right, you're not shooting in front of you. It's just shooting up. The missiles will always shoot in the direction you're moving. It seems like maybe that should be different. There's no analog movement in terms of aiming. And then I think the lasers might work the same as the missiles, shoot in the direction you're moving. Why the machine gun only shoots up, I don't understand. But it feels like crap to move this car around, and then the weapons themselves don't feel that great. It was very, very frustrating and disappointing because I looked at it and said, man, if this can nail the gameplay, this is going to be a game I love. I fucking love those Storm games, and I love the Assault Heroes games on Xbox Live Arcade. Renegade Ops was great. I'm a huge fan of this style of game, but this was just not it, sadly. Submarine Survivor is a Survivor-like. What do they call them? I mean, do we just call them Survivor-likes? But those games where you just move around the character you're playing, and an auto shooter. Is it an auto shooter? And it's just shooting on its own. Every time you level up, you can get some new weapon to attach to your person, your vehicle, your whatnot, or you can upgrade this, give yourself a little buff, so on. And this one is all submarine based. The problem with the game is that, one, it doesn't feel that good. It doesn't look good at all. It looks like it's made from very old clip art. And the enemies were ugly, these ugly jellyfish things. And then these giant kind of that fish that has like the light hanging off of its forehead that is always evil in every movie. It just, and they were all kind of black with red outlines. It just looked ugly. It was an unpleasant game to play with a far too busy UI. When you get the upgrade options, 3 options every time you level up, there's just too much shit going around on them. They should just be simple cars, but then there's all these gears and little switches. It just feels like a Rob Liefeld design game where you're putting pockets everywhere to put pockets everywhere. You're putting lines here just to put lines here. We don't need all these lines. Clean it up, please. Just, for the love of God, clean it up. But it is one of the worst Survivor likes I've played, sadly. Which is too bad, because I think a Survivor like is relatively easy to make good enough. It just is a matter of the genre being quite oversaturated at this point. So standing out is hard, but being good enough is usually not the hardest. But this is one of the rare instances where I don't think it's worth playing unless you just want a game that'll probably give you some relatively easy achievement points. Then we have Royal Romances Forbidden Magic and Royal Romances The Power of the Chosen One. These are the second and third games in the Royal Romances specific series, and this is another from the studio that gives us all of the hidden object games, the point and click hidden object games that have their mini games in them as well. And like I said before with these, there is an aspect of them that I look at them and I think, is there some AI driven stuff going on in here, especially with the story and the characters and all of that stuff. But in terms of all those games, these I liked more than some of the more recent ones I played because of the fantasy theme to them. the worlds and the areas you're looking through are a bit more colorful and interesting than your typical just, oh, here's a fucking flower shop. Now you're at least getting something a bit more fantastical. Don't care about the story. It still has the issue of some really ridiculous puzzles. Like at the start of, I think it was Forbidden Magic, one of the things you have to do is get a key to open this cupboard. And the way you get the key is it's kind of just stuck in this bonsai tree. So you get some bonsai tree fertilizer and then you pour it on the tree, and you're like pouring it from the top of the tree. And I think the fertilizer you're dropping, which are large pellets, they just hit the key and make it fall out. There's no real rhyme or reason as to why you couldn't just grab. It's stuff like that where you look at it and you think, why can't I just grab the key? Why are we playing this weird? There needs to be something you do in order to get this. It's hide the key better. Make it make more sense is what I say. But if you're a fan of these types of games, these are some of the more better, interesting ones, I would say, in the grand scheme of things. But it's still very much following the same exact formula, so you know what to get here. Again, with these games, I think they feel better suited for a mouse and keyboard, or I don't know if these games are on iOS, but for a touchscreen and not so much a gamepad. Yeah, it was fine. They're both solid. But if you want to follow the story, you're gonna have to get the first one, which I don't know what that one's called. And then the last game I played is Pilo and Holobook. This is a puzzle-ish game, I guess. Very simple, very cute, great art. Looks very, very nice. Has a story that I checked out of very quickly. You're this little like fox dude, and you've got this scientist guy you live with, and he wants to go. Basically, you're collecting a bunch of information and scanning a bunch of objects and so on, creating stickers from everything you scan, putting them in your little sticker book, exploring some worlds. And it's very, very simple and kind of tedious, kind of pleasant in that way. I only played an hour, got to the second world, was doing it that way. But what so much of the gameplay entails is just finding objects you haven't found, scanning them with your scanner, creating a sticker based on them, and then putting them in your sticker book. And when you hit a certain number of stickers, when you reach a certain number in the sticker bar, you'll unlock a new area. And there will be special objects that you find and you scan, and they'll give you special stickers with designated spots to put them in to get bonus points. But really, 80%, 90% of my gameplay was just going around these various areas, scanning everything until I couldn't scan anything else, and just putting stickers in my book. So if you want to scan objects and make stickers out of them and shape the sticker book how you like, so if you're a fan of sticker booking and you want to be able to, like, okay, I'm going to take all of the stickers from this area that are stone-like and theme my sticker book so that everything is within the same place. And you can pick up stickers and move them around if you decide, okay, I don't like the way I set this up, I want to change this. You can adjust sticker sizes a little bit bigger than their normal size or a little bit smaller. You can't make them super small or anything like that. But that is the majority of what you're doing. There's no difficulty to it, no challenge, no thinking involved. The only thinking came in the second area. For example, you have this kind of treasure map overview of the deserted area. And it will show you 5 slots of things to find in the world. And then you can use the map and environmental clues to realize, okay, so this particular object I have to find is somewhere in this vicinity. So I'm going to scan this open sand to find the object that I can get the sticker of and fill into this treasure map. So that is, so far in what I've played, the extent of how deep and challenging the puzzle solving element gets. It may get a bit more complicated than that, but this seems very kid friendly, very family friendly. It's just a very, very pleasant, colorful, good looking art style with a simple easy to digest story. And yeah, it's nice, but I would like a little something more for me. It's a game that you enjoy in the moment, but it's not going to stick with you. It's not going to stick with me at the very least. It's a game that I had a good time playing it, but I'm not going to think about it come this time next month. That is again Pilo and Holobook. And that is Pilo and the Holo, Holo, book, Book. Don't know why I spelled book. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So that is going to do it for this here show. I was going to say stream, and I was like, this is not a stream. This is a show. And what show is this? The Pixelated Sausage Show. Once again, I am Marcus, and as y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS. There you can get access to a monthly Q&A, a private Discord channel, along with some fancy Discord roles, and the random drop on the Patreon here or there depending on your tier. Or you can just support me to support me if that is your fancy. That is again patreon.com/PXS. In addition to Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. That is the letter P, the letter X, sausage.com. But that is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. But for now, adios, arrivederci. Bye, bye.
It's go time. Go, Daddy.